What up, everybody? I am the Comic Outlaw, coming to you live and loud from parts unknown, going from this place to this place, ozone to ozone, if you know. But I am going to do something a little different. As you could tell, I'm a collector of when I travel from different worlds, different this. I take little knickknacks with me. And on your Earth, there was a whole wonderful series of Star Wars books. Yes, this is what a book looks like. You just can't get that off a iPad. You just can't get that smell. And this universe was actually very cool. It had a nice base. It started literally after Return of the Jedi. The first book was The Truth of Tukadid, I think, and it just went on. The characters aged well. The comic book series that went with it, the Dark Horse stuff was wonderful. I will be covering that on my show. I will be starting Dark Empire. I'd be looking out for that next week, I'd say. I'm almost done with the video. I just need to do the audio for that. I kind of want to show these people live with a wonderful world of Star Wars, and I kind of feel robbed, especially after watching the Solo movie. That was a great disappointment. I mean, I have the 3 books, the Han Solo trilogy. I think it was AC Crispin. I've talked about it in a previous video. I think the Bite My Burrito for the Solo movie. How boring and long and unnecessary it was, and how it just went nowhere. Well, the story told more. It explained everything. Solo's life, how he was on a ship, how he was raised sort of by a Wookiee that took care of him. It had a wonderful flow to it. It was really cool. It explained how Solo met Jabba, how he was part of the Empire, how it just filled in all the gaps wonderfully. Great 3 books. They're really not that long either. And it's just sad that you kind of lose that experience now. But I felt that this book is just funny as hell. It's entertaining. It has a fair amount of action in it. And it's just great. It's a Han and Leia story, which, both characters are, Han's dead, and I guess Leia's going to disappear in the next movie due to the unfortunate death of Carrie Fisher. But I would like to show you this book. Behold, this is the Courtship of Princess Leia. Yes, check that out. This book is, I think, 5 years after Jedi. Han and Leia are still doing their thing. There's still fragments of the Empire. They're kind of becoming warlords in their different sections. And to unite against them, since Leia is technically still a princess, this clan that has all these systems, and they have their own their own empire, except it's ran by women. Much like the Bene Gesserit in Dune. I don't know if anyone's ever read that series. They have that strong power base, and the men are more to marry off to a powerful woman, and the queen actually selects Leia due to her involvement with the Empire, the war, the rebellion, to marry her son. And this kind of comes in dispute with Solo, since they're still seeing each other. They have a thing. Han. He's more of the I know type instead of the I love you type, if you know what I'm saying. But this guy comes to court. Brings all kinds of gifts. And one of these, and this is one of those little things that comes up later as a gun. It's called the command gun. And I guess if you blast someone with this gun, they become hypnotized and under your spell for a short time. Now, this is going to come into play later, so this is why I'm telling you now. So all these wonderful gifts, and Leia actually is pleased by the guy. He's really good looking. And she's actually considering this offer, because this would be the thing. All these ships and these planets, and there's not just primitive ships. These are big, powerful ships. And they're warriors. Everything would be at her disposal. She can easily clean out the rest of the Empire remnants with this. Or not easily, but, it would give her a lot more resources than she has now. So she's seriously considering this. Now Han, being Han, oh man, I'm not gonna do things in the exact order of the book. You could just read it yourself, But I'm just gonna give you little tidbits, and I'm just gonna throw that out. So as you know, I do the spoilers. Here's your spoilers, whatever the hell. All right, 1. Han gets very drunk and turns to C-3PO for help. Now, the disappointing thing in the movie is he's just Solo. That's how he gets his name. In this one, C-3PO actually traces his name back to royalty. Adala, I think that's how you say it, Datha Solo, who was a space pirate, who named himself king after a bloodthirsty pirate spree. So he was kind of like an outlaw king, which is kind of embarrassing, because he announces that in front of the court, and everyone just kind of, everyone there just kind of looks at Han, and Han just sitting there looking at 3PO like, oh yeah, and C-3PO creates a song for Han. It's like, Wookiees love him, Han is the man. There's a whole verse. You have to read it for yourself in the book. That's why I'm recommending that you go out and read it. Let's see. So Han eventually decides that maybe if he got a planet to kind of replace Alderaan, because that's part of the condition too, that Leia could take any one of the planets from their thing and make it Alderaan. So he gambles and gambles and gambles until he gets this planet, and it ends up being Dathomir. It's the planet from I don't think it's supposed to be Dathomir, but it's not Dathomir. But even though it has 4 sensitive women, it's a version of it, I guess. Well, the original version, I guess you could say. And he ends up going to this planet. He ends up kidnapping Leia. He sneaks over this planet, which is on kind of like the crest of one of the Empire warlord systems. So he has to sneak in. They end up crash landing. And it's funny because in the thing, when Leia wakes up all pissed off, Chewie actually offers to beat Han's ass. Even though his vow is code of honor, he thinks what Han did was so shitty, kidnapping her and this whole scam involving them, that he offers to beat his ass. There's so many funny things in this. They get captured by the women. They're Force sensitive women. They're like witches. They're not exactly evil per se. They just enslave men and make them work. It's kind of like the opposite of the Ferengis. And Leia, of course, becomes kind of works her way up there while Han ends up doing the mud pit. It's kind of cool. And it's a really good story. I'm just giving you broad strokes. I kind of don't want to give away the ending. Of course, we know who ends up with who, but it's funny how they get out of it. These witches actually ride the Rancors from the Jabba pit. So it's really worth reading. It's worth looking at. And there's actually a good subplot with Luke too. How Luke and the Prince actually have to go off to find them. So it's really cool. It's worth reading. It's interesting how Leia does, how this courtship actually does happen, and how Han ends up taking that step and popping the question at the absolute worst time. And like I said, I know Star Wars is done. I know Disney has kind of tried to bury these books, but they're really worth reading. They're really worth the time. They're done by great authors. This one's done by Dave Wolverton. He's done a lot of sci-fi stuff. It's really worth checking it out. It's one book, one contained story, and it's really cool. Highly recommend it. And if you just want to read some funny stuff, really good moments, witches riding Rancors, good fighting, a little bit of politics, and of course, Leia just being a badass, as well as Han being a sneak. I mean, they get all the characters right. I highly recommend the book. And you know what? I think I'm going to call this Tales from the Bookshelf. First episode. Check this out. Courtship of Princess Leia. Star Wars. Yeah. This is the Comic Outlaw. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Laters.